All right, and we are live. Hi, everybody. I'm really pleased to welcome today Nico and Bharat. Nico is the founder of, and Bharat is CEO, right? I'm not exactly, good with the titles, of Peliqan. So we'll introduce the company in a minute, and you get the chance to see the products in action afterwards. And as you know, for this format, we keep the questions at the end because it's quite a dense presentation. So we'll try to make the most of the 30 minutes we have with everybody from the company Alegria and also everybody from our community. So Nico, Bharat, I don't know who wants to get started first. Maybe a word about yourself and your company.
Yeah, Lucien, thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to do a demo today of Peliqan. We are a startup. We are headquartered in Belgium, in Ghent. I'm sorry I'm doing this in English. My French is not very good. It should be. Bharat, maybe you want to introduce yourself and then I can start with the demo.
Hey guys, Bharat here. Nice meeting you all. I'm from Bangalore, and so other end of the world, I must say.
Not that far.
And
not
that far. Right. Nico, of course, will introduce the product and the company. But in our earlier avatar, we were building integration platform, Blender, which got acquired by Click, the BI tool. We got a lot of experience in building iPaaS, and then we realized that there's an opportunity in the data data stack space, and Peliqan is that product we want to demonstrate to you guys.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about maybe the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Bharat mentioned before, we founded a company which was called Blender. It was an iPaaS similar to Make, or even Zapier. It was more, actually, it was very
like a
similar.
Workato-style maybe, or
Sorry?
Maybe Workato or Boomi,
Exactly.
or these bigger ones, right?
Tray.io, but also, definitely Make. And so our company, as Bharat mentioned, was acquired by Click. So we spent a couple of years at Click. Click is a BI tool, but they also have a big data integration department. And so we were using our iPaaS, our low-code integration platform within the context of data integrations. And that's where we came up basically with the idea of building Peliqan. So Peliqan is what we're currently building. So we have a team here in Belgium. We have a team in Bangalore. We work very closely together. And Peliqan is basically a low-code data, all-in-one data platform. So we try to bring all the different aspects that you need to work with data from different sources. We try to bring all of that together in one platform. Blender was also an integration platform, but the focus was very much on building the workflows, do this, then do that, making API calls. But what we realized is that when you work with data, there's other things that you need to do. For example, you need to first make a connection to the source, but then you typically want to combine the data. You want to maybe transform the data, prepare it. And so you want to take steps with that data before you actually use it in a dashboard, in your analytics, or even when you use it to set up a data integration where you're writing data from one platform into the other. So and that's what we believe is missing in those workflows. Workflows are great to visualize what needs to happen, but it's very hard to prepare the data and to see what the data looks like. And so that's what we try to solve with Peliqan.
Got it. So you're basically going upstream in the flow. So you've already kind of done everything basically from start to exit with your previous company. We're working with automation, and now you are preparing the data for these iPaaS basically.
Exactly.
All right. Perfect. Let's dive into the product now. If you're ready, give me the go for sharing your screen whenever you want.
Yeah, sure. Please do. Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Okay, so when you log in into Peliqan, this is what you will see. The first thing you will do is you will add one or more connections. So here you can add a new connection. This could be a connection to a database, and maybe you have some data in Postgres or MySQL or a data warehouse like Snowflake. But you can also connect to SaaS business applications. We have quite a few connectors, but we keep adding new ones. For example, Salesforce, HubSpot, Jira, Zendesk. We also add connectors based on customer requests. We have built this internal framework which allows us to add new connectors very quickly, and actually we can add a new connector within 2 business days. So when we talk to a customer and they have a specific product that they use, a local accounting system or an ERP system, we can actually add a connector within 2 business days. And of course, for SaaS, we use the APIs to connect to those platforms. So you can simply add a connection here. For example, Odoo, it's an ERP system. You just add the credentials, and then you have to wait 1 or 2 minutes. And then the data will automatically pop up on the left-hand side here. So here you can see that I already have quite a few connections to databases. I also have a connection to Odoo. Odoo is an ERP system, as I mentioned before. All the data from that platform appears as a virtual table. So whether you're looking at data from a database or from Odoo or HubSpot, they all look the same. They all look like traditional tables that you can work with in a spreadsheet environment. That's what makes Peliqan so unique, is that you actually see the data in a similar way as if you would be working with Excel or Google Sheets, for example. So of course you can have a look at this data. Maybe I'll switch to another environment because that was my local environment. So here you can see my Odoo data. I also connected here N11. N11 is a marketplace where you can sell products, e-commerce. And so I also have a table here, for example, with all my sales that I've done in my marketplace. And I think this is a good example where you have some data in a marketplace, and you also have data in your ERP system, and now you want to combine that. Why? Maybe you want to do reconciliation. You want to check, okay, is everything basically the same? Do I have the same information in my ERP system and in my marketplace? So I just opened a few different tables here. And then I also wrote a query. So that is the nice thing about Peliqan. Business users, they can use the spreadsheet environment, but power users can also write SQL queries. So here I wrote a query which basically just joins or combines 2 tables: my ERP data, my orders in my ERP, and my orders in my marketplace. So I just joined them together as if they're both part of the same database. In reality, it's 2 different sources, but still I can just work with all those tables as if they are in the same database. So I just join my data, I write my query, and then I can actually look at the result. Okay, so here I can immediately see, for example, differences between my Odoo data and my marketplace data. So that's how it works. You connect your sources, and then you can combine it and look at the data. But in each table, you can also add your own columns if you like. So you can add, for example, a column with some notes. Maybe you just want to take some notes, or maybe you want to add some labels. That's what I did here. I added a column which is actually a single select value with important, normal, and I don't know, not important. So I can simply define extra columns that I can then use on top of those virtual tables. And then I can actually just, make changes to my data as much as I like. You can also work with formulas. So you can also add a formula similar to Excel to calculate maybe the total sales price or to change a date format. So these formulas are actually a way of transforming the data. And that is a typical challenge when you work with a workflow, is that sometimes you want to send data from A to B, but you have to change the format because maybe a date is has seconds and minutes and hours in it here, but it needs to go into a different format in the destination. Well, that's something you would typically do here. You would first add a formula, and with that formula, you can actually make a new date format, and that becomes just a new virtual column in your table. So that column doesn't really exist in Odoo. It doesn't really exist in the marketplace, but it will exist in this table where you're actually working. So yeah, sorry,
So
go ahead.
someone, I don't know. Yeah, no, I think one of us clicked on the question. That's what it does. It adds it to to the string.
Sorry. My bad. My
No,
bad.
no
My
worries.
bad.
I think we can take it now or we can take it later. Up to you.
Yeah, it's
But
actually a very good question. Can we add our own connectors? So right now, that's something we do. We definitely have that on the roadmap. We want to build a tool so that anyone can add their own connector, and it will look very similar to Postman. If anybody has used
got it.
Postman before to work with an API, you have to say, okay, this is the API endpoint. These are the parameters. Well, in a similar way, you will be able to add your own connector into Peliqan. Yeah, for now, it's
Got
something
it.
that we take care of. Also because, we have the skills for that. We have the team, we have the experience. We can do it really quickly, and we also do it at a very low cost. It's a one-time fee just to cover those hours that we spend on it.
Okay.
And that's
I think that was one of the other questions linked to this one. It's like because you already talked about the turnaround time, which is about 2 days to add a connector
exactly.
that
Yeah.
you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
For a basic connector, if it's a full-blown
Yeah. If it's
ERP
like
system, it will be
AWS, everything. Yeah.
exactly. It will be a little bit longer. Yeah.
All
But
right.
once the connector is in place, then all of that data from that system becomes as easy to work with as a spreadsheet. And that's really the cool thing, is I don't have to think about where that original data is. I don't have to log into those tools. So I can also give people access to, for example, verify the data, or maybe to approve something. This could be an order, and you just allow somebody to set this order. Okay, this is approved, this is not approved. So it's a really easy way to allow people to work with data without them having to go back into those systems. So you
Got
can
it.
also do all the classic stuff here, like you can add charts. So you can visualize that data once you have prepared it. That's of course something you can do, or you can also use an existing BI tool, or retool, or anything else, basically. So once you have combined and prepared the data here, you can use any tool that you like, maybe Metabase, to make dashboards. But you can also do it directly in Peliqan. And now comes the third step. So first we connect to the data, then we combine it and prepare it. And then the third step is actually where we can write simple scripts. So you have to go to admin apps, and this is where you have a built-in scripting environment with using Python, but it's low code. You only need a few lines of code to start working with that data. So this is our low-code approach to do all of these use cases. For example, maybe you want to build an interactive dashboard. That's something you could do here. You can make custom reports in PDF, for example. You could also do data enrichment. For example, maybe you want to use an API such as Hunter or Clearbit, and you want to use that to enrich your data. That's also something you could do here. Maybe you want to do simple machine learning. We have a few templates for that. Maybe you want to apply a prediction on your data. So that's also something you could do here. Or you could also use this for what we call write back. Write back, and maybe I'll start with a very small example here. Here is a script, and it's just 2 lines. I hope it's not too small to see on the screen. But this is basically my script to do write back into Pipedrive. It's really super simple. It's just 2 lines. The first line basically just sets up my connection. This is where I say, hey, I want to write into Pipedrive. So I basically make a connection. I connect to Pipedrive. So then I have Pipedrive. Again, this is Python code. And then the second step is you can do pipedrive.add. And what I want to add in Pipedrive is 1 contact. So what you can see here is I'm basically adding a new contact into my CRM, into my Pipedrive, with a name, Anna, and an email address. So that's it. That's all you need to do to start writing data into Pipedrive. And of course, this is a very silly example, but here's a bigger one. Basically, I'm using the same query that I just showed before, the query that I wrote, which combines my data from my ERP and my marketplace. I'm using the same one, and I'm actually loading that data into my script. So that's what I'm doing here with this line. I'm just loading that table, and then I'm going over all the rows. I'm just going over all the rows one by one. And for each row, I'm actually sending an update into Odoo, into my ERP system. So this is a slightly more advanced example where I'm actually keeping my ERP system updated based on my transactions on a marketplace. So it's not a visual environment, right? It's actual code, but you only need a few lines of code. And the benefit is that you can implement any type of business logic because it's Python code. So you can keep it really simple, but you can also add your own logic as much as you like. So that's what we're doing here. We're keeping our ERP system updated, but as you can see, as a developer, you don't have to think about APIs. You don't have to think about how you work with the API from the different platforms. It's just 1 simple line of code to update your ERP system. And then actually in the same table, we're also adding the status of the script. So this is just optional, but it allows us to go back into that table at any point in time, and we can actually see what was executed by the script. So it's actually a very nice way, not only of seeing the data, but also keeping track of how it was written from A to B.
Got it. Yeah. I think we have a bunch of interesting questions, so I want to make sure we'll have time for all of these. Do you want us to show? Sorry.
No, sounds great. I think of course I can show much more, but I think I covered the basics: making connections, working with the data, and writing scripts. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Perfect. I'm gonna go back up, and the few, I think, just to understand really the concept we mentioned already, the connectors. So just to make sure we really understand the data that we see in Peliqan, is it just directly read from the source, or is it synced in a local database?
That's a very good question. Actually, we allow for both options. You can work with a real-time connection, but that only works for smaller amounts of data, because when you write a query, select star from odoo.customers. You can do that. You can write an SQL query. We will actually convert that into API calls, and we will fetch the data in real time. But the APIs, of course, are pretty slow, so that only works for small tables. If you have more data, then behind the scenes, we actually sync the data into a built-in data warehouse. It looks real time, but it's actually a scheduled sync that's automatically done in the background. Yeah. So you can do both.
The follow-up question to this was from Arno, and if it's synced, what's the delay, or how often do you actually sync the data?
Yeah. Currently, the default is every 5 minutes, but you can change that. But obviously, it depends on the APIs. Some APIs have very tight rate limits. In that case, you might have to set a lower schedule. So it's something you can configure, but the default is every 5 minutes, and it's incremental. So it's pretty fast, right? So every 5 minutes, it will only get the changed data and the new data from each source, and it will update the built-in data warehouse.
So the first sync probably takes a bit of time, and then afterwards it's only the changes. All right.
Correct. Yeah.
You showed us also how to do SQL queries. So is this something a business user without writing SQL queries can do, or?
Can I share my screen again?
Sure.
Christian?
Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, I completely forgot to show that. So let me go back here. In Peliqan, you can also add your own tables. You can add new tables. Why? Maybe you just have some extra data that you want to use. Maybe just a list of customers, or even a list of countries. So you can actually just add your own tables. But you can also add tables which are queries. That's something I showed. But you can also use the join editor. And that's something I forgot to show you. So this is actually how you join tables if you don't know SQL. It's really a little wizard that will help you to write a join query. So
Perfect.
here you have to choose what kind of join, for example, an inner join, and then you do a lookup of the tables that you want to join. Of course, you can also do a search here. And then you have to say, okay, how do I match the data? Of course, this is not realistic, but you know what I mean. And then also what needs to go into the final result, which which columns you actually want to see. So that's basically it. And then you can run it, and it will actually build up that query for you. But you don't have to know SQL. And what's also super cool here is this last feature. It's actually a fuzzy join. And that is a great way of joining data based, for example, on names. Maybe you have.
I see. Oh, it must be very useful.
Yeah. This is a big problem when you work with data from different sources. You don't have an ID or a key to use. For example, you have your customers in HubSpot, but you also have support tickets in Zendesk, and you just want to see, like, okay, for each of my customers, how many support tickets are there? Well, you need to combine the two, but you can't, because there's no ID that you can use. So this is where you do a fuzzy join, and then you use company name. And even if they're not exactly the same, Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola Limited, it will still try to match them. And it's not going to be perfect, but it will give you the ability to fuzzy join based on names.
Interesting. And will we have like an indication, like this row is like a merged row, and we can arbitrate whether this is a good merge or a bad merge? Or?
That's a good question. We're still working on that. Right now, we show the result, and you have to set a threshold. So if it's pretty close, you choose how accurate it is.
The sensitivity, yeah.
Exactly, the sensitivity, that's it. And then everything that's above the sensitivity level will be included. But we're working on a more advanced UI that would also show, like, okay, this did not match, this is a potential match, this is an exact match. So that's something we have on the roadmap. Yeah.
Got it. And you showed us how to transform data. You showed us that we can do it with a script. So I guess right now you don't have, one of the questions was like, can we add like, it's a bit beyond this actually. It's like, can we add, I guess you see how the automations are done in Airtable, right? Is this like on your roadmap at some point to, for us to change the status based on some business logic automatically, or do even more like trigger an email alert or something?
Yeah, We are undecided on that. It's an option. We are considering it, but right
Okay.
now it
That
is
could make your product go into a different direction, so that might not be.
true. True. We currently have the scripts and they are very powerful, but you need
True.
to know a little bit of Python. But we also
Mm.
provide templates, so we make it. Yeah, we try to make it easy. So you can do it today, and you can do Airstyle type automations. You can send a message to Slack or do whatever you like, but it would be in a few lines of code. And that real visual workflow, currently we don't have that. We're still thinking about should we add it, but people might also use external tools like Make or Zapier. So we're currently undecided.
Okay. So it's a different direction for the product altogether. That's for sure. Uh, Understood. And so you mentioned that that people might use Make and so on. So this question is maybe not in the list here, but it's like, so can we have like webhooks or like how would we inform Make, for instance, that we need to trigger a particular scenario
Yeah,
in that case?
absolutely. Yeah. So there's a Peliqan API. You could work with webhooks, so you could choose for a push or pull model. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And there's also a third mechanism. That's actually how we integrate with BI tools, is where you materialize the queries. So if you have prepared data in Peliqan, you can also materialize them. Then they become a physical table. And then you can also read that table and it has timestamps of everything that changed. So there's different ways of doing it.
Okay, nice. Yeah, we like tools where we're able to, of course, send data inside, but also get the data out.
I agree.
That's important. Yeah, yeah. So I had shown this before. So I think we saw like with Python, we can actually write back into the original table. What if we modify something directly in the spreadsheet-like UI? Would that actually write back in the source?
This is also a fantastic question. So by default, it will not write back into the source. When you make changes in Peliqan, they are only in Peliqan. We actually apply them as a virtual layer on top of the source data. So how it works is we fetch the new data, the real-time data, when you do a query, and then we put all the changes on top as a layer. So you have to see that as data transformations. And this is a great question from Melinda. It can indeed create conflicts. Right now, we just give priority to the changes that you have made in Peliqan. So ours will go on top, the source data, because we assume that you actually correct an error. For example, there's a typo in a country, and when you make the change in Peliqan, it will actually permanently replace the source value. You could also write a script to actually do conflict detection. But today we just give priority to the changes that you make in Peliqan. And more advanced conflict handling is something we can add in our roadmap. Yeah.
Okay, very clear. A quick one maybe is, are we able to like share anything publicly that we make in Peliqan, like just as an embed? Like you mentioned, we can build dashboards or charts.
Yeah.
Can we embed that, share that?
Yeah, the charts are a bit similar to Airtable. You have a table and then you add a chart onto that table. You can also download it. Public sharing is not yet available. It's something we will definitely add. You can do it, but then you have to go through our Python scripts. In our Python scripts, you can also add charts. We actually use Streamlit, which is an open source platform for that, or a library that is actually built in. So you can also define charts in a Python script, and they have a publish button, and then you get a public link that you can share with people outside of the product.
All right, perfect. Maybe a couple of questions to conclude. One is about competition. Like, who would you say your closest competitor is, and for instance, how do you compare to Actiondesk?
Yeah, I think we're in the same league as Actiondesk, spreadsheet-based BI. We try to go beyond BI. For us, it's not just the charts, it's not just the analytics. We have a very strong focus on also writing back to the data, applying machine learning, doing more with the data, because showing data, that's one thing, but writing data to the correct destination, that's also important. So I think that's a big difference, is the scripting and the low code apps that you built in Peliqan.
All right, perfect. And one that is not in the list, but is also important for us to position your tool as a, what are your different price points, or basically pricing model, and what customer segment are you specifically after?
Yeah, people can contact us for pricing information. The pricing is basically shared based on the number of connections that you add. The more data sources you connect, the higher the license tier. We also have a specific partner pricing for integration companies, people that work on behalf of end customers, so that they can purchase one license, which actually on a per customer basis is very low, so they can actually include it into their offering.
Oh, okay. So we can use it to extend, like not us, Alegria, but someone like a SaaS company building their own tool could basically outsource this part of like the product to you, or use your product as a like in a
Absolutely.
white label manner, I
Exactly.
guess.
Yeah, exactly. As a SaaS company, or if you're doing some consultancy, that's a great way. Even accountants, right? They connect to all these different accounting systems from their customers. Here, they can actually in one place create the reports, the templates that they need, and then use it for all of their end customers. Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's more in the, yeah. Okay. Very, very effective. All right. Thanks for this great demo. I think, yeah, it conveyed really well what the tool can do, and where you're heading. So it looks very promising, very flexible for many use cases. Who are maybe your main users today, or either names or type of roles?
Yeah, it really it's very much based on the connectors that we have. For example, ERP systems. We work with quite a few customers that have a lot of data in ERP systems, but not all the data is in the ERP system, so they also have to combine it with data from other platforms: CRM, marketing automation, payment gateways, e-commerce. So that's an important category. Yeah.
We've seen that use cases a lot. All right, yeah, I think it's going to be very actionable for us to have seen this product. I hope the project managers here will remember this one, because it can be very useful for us. We actually set up and build a lot of ERPs, so this is really relevant for us. Thank you very much, Bharat, Nico. We'll be in touch. I think the next logical step is like when we see a tool like this that we see is like an obvious, technical fit, is to wait for the next relevant customer project to come up. And of course, the first few projects we were always very close to the publisher to ask if this is the right project to start with, to build the first case together.
Sounds great. We're available. People can contact us by email, just hello@peliqan.io, or through LinkedIn. So happy to get on a call and discuss potential use cases.
All right. Yeah, we usually would involve you either directly during the sales phase, or during the conception phase, to make sure we select the right tool to build the client solution. Thanks again, Nico, Bharat, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Luciana. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.